Alright, moving on in our conic section stuff, we're going to be looking at parabolas. So this is one that you probably have seen the most, especially lately. Remember, parabolas are usually in the function of y equals x squared plus like x plus 4. That's an example of a parabola. Okay, so it's usually something that's x squared. So what a parabola is it's actually a little more in depth than what we've kind of made it out to be. Uh, how a parabola is made is that you have a point and a line, and the distance from the point, which is called the focus. Okay, if you were to pick a point on the parabola, that point right there, and you draw a line from the focus to that point, okay, and then from that point you draw a line straight down into what's called the directrix. Okay. The distance from the focus to that point is the same as the distance from the directrix to that point. Okay, and that's true no matter where you are on this parabola. Okay, it's always true. If you want, no matter what point you take, it's always going to be true. Okay, so that's kind of how a parabola is created, is that the distance from the focus to the point and the point to the directrix is always the same length. Okay, so that's kind of how a parabola is formed. So kind of the important parts of this is the important points that we're looking for is called the vertex, which is the turning point right here, your vertex, the focus, and the directrix. Those are the important things that we're looking for in these parabolas. Okay, so to find the focus, what you're going to do is that you're going to go 1 over 4 c. Okay, c is in the denominator, is equal to a. Now remember in our functions for parabolas, so if we just have a basic parabola, y equals ax squared. This a value is right there. Okay, and the c value is the distance from the vertex to the focus. That is your c value. Okay, no matter what it is. So what you'll do is that whenever you know what your vertex is, which I'm going to call hk. Okay, so if my vertex is at hk, if I add c to the k, so if I go k plus c, what's happening is that I'm moving it up, and that is where my focus would be. Okay, whatever my c value, or that would be the focus. Okay, and we're going to look at an example of finding the focus in this, and finding the directrix. The directrix would be h of k minus c, so you subtract, and that would be your directrix. Okay, so what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find what your c value is, or if you know what it is, then you're going to have to find the a value to create your function. Okay. All right, so if we know what our vertex is, we know our vertex is at the origin, and then our focus is told is at 0, 8. What we're going to do is that we want to find, we want to know what the equation is. And what the equation is going to be is that we have to find the a value. And to find the a value, we're going to use that 1 over 4c. Our c will be the change from the origin to that point, which is an increase of 8. 8 is our c. Okay, so we have 1 over 4 times 8, which is 1 over 32. That gets put in front of the x squared, giving us our y equals 1 over 32x squared. Okay, and that is our function of our parabola. Now if we want to find the directrix, all we're going to do is we're going to take that c value, we're going to start at the origin, the 0, we're going to look at the y value, and we're going to subtract 8. Okay, and then the directrix is not a point, it's a line. So when you're changing the y value, your answer for your directrix is always going to be y equals. Now sometimes you're going to have to change the x value, and which we'll go over that. It's a little bit different. Just some minor tweaks here and there. But that's to find your vertex. That's to find your equation given your focus and where your vertex is. Which most cases we're going to start with our vertex in the origin. Okay. All right, so now this one, we're told that our vertex is at the origin. Okay, so again, when we graph it, our vertex is right here. And now we're told that our directrix is at 2, which is actually above it, which means that our focus has to be below it, so it's got to be a negative number. Okay, that means our parabola will look something like that. And so what we're going to do is that we have to find what our focus is. Well, if the distance from the origin to the directrix is 2, it's the same distance to the focus. So if we added 2 to get up to the directrix, that means we're going to subtract 2 to go down to the focus. And so that's why we're at 0, negative 2. Because we start at the origin, 0, 0, and we subtracted 2 on the y. Gets us our negative 2. Okay. Now to find what our equation is, what we're going to do is we're going to use that a is equal to 1 over 4c again, that equation. And our 2 is actually negative 2, and we plug that in for our c, in which we get 1 over negative 8, or negative 1/8. Now that number gets plopped out in front of our equation, y equals negative 1/8 x squared. Okay, and that is our equation of this one. And as you see, the a value is negative, so that means the parabola has to be opening down, which makes sense. Okay, now we're looking at this one. So our vertex is at the origin again, and our focus is at 4, 0. So if you looked at previously, we were at 0, 4. So now what's happening is that we're changing along our x-axis. So there's our origin, and our focus is here, which means our directrix would be here, and that means that our parabola is opening up this way. Now when your parabola is opening up to the side, you're going to have x equals something something y squared. Okay, and so you're going to still do the same thing, you just have to change the variables. It's going to be x equals y squared. Okay, so if it's opening up to the side, or the x value is the one that's changing, you're going to be having x equals. And then your directrix, instead of y equals negative 4, you have x equals negative 4. Okay, so if you're opening up to the side, you're going to have x equals. If you're opening up and down, you have y equals. Okay, and so that's just a slight difference. It's just kind of a variable change on those. Okay, so finding the vertex and directrix of this one. So if we're given the function of y equals x squared minus 6x plus 8, we want to find the vertex, which you can use your calculator to find the vertex of these, either using max or min. And we find it as 3, negative 1. Now after that, we're going to want to find our focus and directrix, so we have to find that c value. Well, we take the a value of this one, which is 1, set it equal to 1 over 4c, and then solve for c. So multiply both sides by 4c, then divide by 4, gets us a c of negative 1/4. So what we're going to do is that since it's y, we're changing the y value. So we're going to go 3, negative 1 plus 1/4. That's going to be where our focus is. And then our directrix will be y equals negative 1 minus 1/4. And we solve those, in which we see here our focus is at that 3, negative 3/4, and our directrix is at y equals negative 1.25. Okay, so again, it's just kind of plugging in and solving everything. So your IRAP, what you're going to do is you're going to find the focus and the directrix of each of these. So remember, the first one's opening up and down, so that means your y value is changing. And the second one, you're opening left and right, which means your x value is changing. Both of these are at the origin. Okay, so again, use a equals 1 over 4c to find your numbers.